and welcome to On the Patio with Mr. D. Hey, today, advanced frame, bare bones, that's what we're talking about today. We're going to explain everything there is to know about the setup and the valves and explain the pump and all the adapters and how everything fits. Because here's what's going on, guys, and it's really great news. Advanced Elements products are flying off the shelves. Since COVID, they've sold out, and then they're working like 24/7 to get these kayaks back here so you guys can enjoy them on the water. Because since COVID, when that hit, I mean, the escape was to get out on the water. You don't have to worry about 6-foot distancing and all that kind of crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden, there were no Advanced Element kayaks to be found. They were all sold out. So they've taken on the challenge of increasing their production line, and with that comes a brand new base of customers that have never experienced the Advanced Elements kayak system. And I've gotten a lot of questions on how to set one of these up. I mean, we're talking bare bone basic stuff, guys. And I don't fault these people, absolutely not, because I've been there. I remember when my first kayak come, my first Advanced Element kayak come, and of course I didn't open up the manual. I just went by what I had heard and seen on YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, I'm guilty. And recently I've had several discussions with people that this is their first Advanced Element kayak. And it's an advanced frame, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Strictly the advanced frame line. And that's from the convertible all the way down to the sport. I'm going to be talking about the military spring valves, showing you guys how to set those up, how to twist them in, twist them off, all that kind of stuff. The twist locks, and that's for your coaming and your deck lifts and your lumbar seat. They used twist lock valves. And then, of course, the high pressure drop stitch floor, a different kind of valve and a different kind of adapter. So what I'm going to do today is actually show you the way that I inflate a AE 1044 DSXL. Now that's an advanced frame modified unit. It's 5 inches longer than the standard advanced frame thing. Well, that's the boat I'm going to use today for this demonstration because it has the coaming valves and it has the inside-outside main chamber fill, where the sport only has the outside main chamber fill. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about pumps. The pump you should definitely have in your inventory, which is the Advanced Elements dual action with gauge pump. Now understand, all inflatables expand in heat and contract in cold. Now, one of the things I want to just give you some information on right now is when that kayak is on the water and it is like 95 degrees outside, when that sun is coming down and covering the entire kayak, it's going to expand a little bit. So when it gets really hot and crazy out there, if the specification calls for 2 pounds, go to 1.75. If it's crazy hot, go to 1.50, you know, on your main chamber fill. Because if you have it at factory spec at 2 and it expands, you have the potential of busting a bladder. So keep that in mind. The same thing holds true in extreme cold weather. You may have filled it up, say a couple hours ago at the campsite, and you set it at 2 pounds and everything is spec and it's cold. Now the water's cold, it's cold outside, it's going to contract. So you want to check your air pressure one more time before you get on the water. That's just general rule of thumb. There's actually notes about that in their instruction manuals. So I just wanted to vocalize that so you guys understand expansion and contraction based on heat and cold. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start this process. I mean, we're talking bare bones, guys, so stay tuned. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to do is talk about the Advanced Elements dual action pump. Now, this is critical. It's got the gauge in here. You definitely want to have this on site. It's really critical for your inflation process. So let's talk a little bit about it now. It has a lock connection system here. You can see it's slotted, and that's how the gauge and the hose connect. You just basically just insert it like that and get it in there and just lock it into place. Now your hose is there. You have a inflate and deflate. This says deflate here. This says inflate here. So when you're inflating, make sure that you have it in the right slot. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to do is talk about the 3 adapters. Now, this is the 3 adapters that you're going to be dealing with your advanced frame. This particular adapter right here is for your military spring valve or main bladder, okay? Now, when you screw these on, you want to do that finger tight. They don't have to be wrenched on like a crazy man, okay? The next one that we're going to talk about is the twist lock valve adapter. You can see that here. They just go over the top of the twist lock valve, and then you're ready to go. And the last one, the last valve adapter here, now this one has some interesting stuff involved with it, so I want to explain it to you. This is for your high pressure or drop stitch floor systems, okay? Now, notice that here there is a slot. Now, inside the valve, and I'm going to show you that once we get to that part of the inflation, that has to go over the top of that so it straddles that bar. That way it will lock in to place, and then you can go ahead and inflate. And I'll show you that once we get there. Now, to install these is the same way as installing the hose to the pump. It has the slot right here. You just kind of go, take your adapter, align the pegs into the slots here, go counterclockwise, lock it into place. Now, as this wears, that notch up here will wear. And what happens is when you go to pull these off, especially the high pressure floor, if this was in there like that and you're twisting it off like this is what will happen. It'll stay there. So what you want to do is on this triangle right here is when you're going to take this thing off, you put your finger on that, twist and pull, and it will keep the hose intact with the adapter. So I'll show you that again also once we start the inflation process. So let's go ahead and get this thing unbagged. All right, so when you receive your advanced frame, guys, it'll come in this really excellent canvas bag. You just unzip that, the Velcro that holds the handle, open that up. Now in here has your footrest. Your footrest is right here. And your lumbar seat, if that's the seat that comes with your specific model. And you'll see that because it has a hose in the back with a twist lock system to set up the lumbar seat. Now they have a new seat. This is an older model. In fact, this thing is a 2016. So I'm stoked on how long, because I've had this on the water a lot. But anyway, they got a new seat now where the pad is like about that thick. So it really helps with the comfort. So basically you just unbag the craft. All right, once it's out of the bag, guys, just unfold it. And we're going to talk about the valves and various types of valves here in just a second. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the military spring valves for your main air chambers or main bladder. This is a military spring valve right here, and it is in the up position to where it can accept air from the adapter. Now what happens is when that adapter screws in, this valve drops down just a little bit so it'll accept air. Okay, to go into deflation mode valve, you just push down and go clockwise and it will lock down into place. To go into inflation mode counterclockwise, it pops right up. Same holds true on all the military spring valves, including the high pressure drop stitch floor. Now in the advanced frame line, except for the Sport, you have an inner and outer bladder valve. What you do is you take the outer valve first and you just put enough air in it to where the boat takes shape. Now that's normally around a pound maybe, okay? It's best not to measure that just when the boat takes shape, because you're going to take it up to final spec when you're using the inside main chamber military spring valve. Let me show you that now. All right, as you can see here, guys, the military spring valve for the inner main chamber is right here, and they work in conjunction with each other. The valve down here is your high pressure drop stitch floor valve. Now it opens and closes the same way. You see I popped it up, and this one, that one I popped up, so now they're ready to accept the inflation process. So let's get to that. All right guys, so what we're going to do now is go ahead and start the inflation process. Now the first thing you do is make sure that all 3 of your main chamber valves are in the up position, and then switch out to this adapter for the military spring valve. Again, stick it in, twist it, and there you go. Now, again, this only needs to be finger tight. Insert it over the valve and screw it on. Okay, so that one's ready to go. Now again, you only pump this up to where the boat takes shape. So that's so the boat's kind of taking shape here, so I'm going to go ahead and take this one off and put the cap on, because you won't be using this valve anymore. Also, inside these caps are rubber grommets. Make sure, periodically, you check to make sure that those rubber grommets are still in there. Anyway, just screw that on. Again, just finger tight. All right, this is the time I put in the insert stiffeners on forward and aft. You go into the pocket area here, and the reason I do it now, because the boat is not fully inflated yet, and it's easier to put those in. Now you do that forward and aft. You slide them in and push them into place, and there you go. Okay guys, for demonstration purposes, I unzipped that and tucked it away so you could see that valve, but normally you don't have to do that. When you're setting it up, you just reach down and attach the adapter to the military spring valve. But same process holds true here. Here's your military spring valve. The valve is up. Just take it and screw it in place. Now what you want to do is go ahead and inflate your craft to the recommended PSI, which is 2 pounds, but also taking into effect heat and cold. But I set mine at 2. And we are at 2 pounds right now, so I'll go ahead and take that off and put the cap on. Okay, the next step is to inflate the floor. But before you do that, you want to make sure that your floor is basically aligned. The way you do that is you just look inside and adjust the floor to where it's center in the boat. That looks pretty good there. Change the adapter out here for your high pressure drop stitch floor. Now I want to show you this slot that I was talking about. Okay, you see this slot inside the military spring valve and the slot right here. When you put it in, you want to align that over the slot, twist clockwise until it locks into place. Now you go ahead and fill your drop stitch floor. 5 pounds is where I fill this one. Okay guys, once you reach your 5 pounds or whatever, the hard part is getting that out. Down at the bottom of the adapter, there's a little triangle. What you want to do is to push against that triangle in a counterclockwise motion. This way the adapter won't disconnect or dislodge from the hose. All you do is grab that triangle, and there it is. Just that simple, guys. Now, again, you put your safety cap on, and that's done. Now we're going to go to the deck lifts and the combing valves. Okay, guys, we're going to now do the combing valves. The one thing you want to do, again, is to change out this adapter. Very simply, lock it into place. Now, make sure that the combing valve, and this is a combing valve right here, and it goes, that's closed, that's open, closed, open. just take this, put it over the top. If you notice, I hold my finger and the yellow cap on the white and the yellow section. That helps me insert that without accidentally closing that valve. Then normally it just takes one pump. That one's done. To close it, keep the adapter on. Push down, twist, and remove. That way you won't lose any air. You want to do the same thing on the other side. Again, the valve is open. With the adapter still connected, close the valve and take it off. The coaming valves are done. Now we're going to the deck lifts. All right, guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and lift the deck lifts. Now, one thing you want to do before you inflate your craft is make sure your deck lifts are folded out to the outside of the craft. So you want them laid over here. And to inflate these, once you got them where you want them, is using the same twist lock system. Go ahead and inflate. 1 pound max. Again, same process. Keep it locked, twist it, and remove. And that way your air will stay there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Reach in, find your valve. There it is right there. Make sure it's in the open position. Insert your adapter and go ahead and inflate. Remove it the same way. Your deck lifts are done. Now for demonstration purposes, I went ahead and folded back the upper decking so you can see what I'm doing. But this is the foot brace here, and you determine what's your best comfortable spot. Now that may take a couple times. The best thing to do is do that at home to get where you know you're comfortable. And then basically just insert the buckle clip. That one's done. And then insert this buckle clip. And that one's done, and your footrest is installed. Okay guys, the inflation process is actually done. You could go ahead and put the seat in and all that kind of stuff. But we're not going to do that right now. I'm going to show you a trick that will keep your floor aligned forever. Now, when you're at home, if you have a couple of stands, you'll want to use them because we're going to turn the boat upside down. Now, this is only for the first time. But if your floor is not aligned, your tracking won't be true. So you want to align your floor. You see those marks right there? Now guys, what you need to do, and this is only for the first time, is align your floor perfectly. Now, I did a video on this. I'll put the link in the description. But align your craft at home to where it is perfectly aligned forward and aft. You can see that, how the peak nose aligns with this. Okay, then take a wide tip felt marker right on the crown and mark 4 locations where when you're out on location and before you get on the water, you flip the boat over, make sure your floor is aligned, and that way you will never have a problem again. I've been using this process now for 4 years on this boat, and if I don't do this, the floor will be out of line. Now to adjust it, it's real simple. You're at the site, remember no seat in. You see where this is a little bit down, this is a little bit high. All you do is take your hand and smack the floor like that. Now this craft is 100% aligned. Now once that's all done, you're ready to get on the water. Now the later models of this particular kayak have a different seat. Now this seat is 6 years old, so, but now they're thicker. They got a pad in them about that wide, or about that high, and it's really cool. But anyway, you just kind of line this up where you want it, and there's buckles right here and right here, buckle receivers. There's a strap here and one on the other side. All you do is reach in, click it into place. Now again, this is a good time when you're doing the floor alignment test and your foot peg test, is to, again, get this up on stands, get this where you want it, and adjust the straps by pulling or releasing some of that strap material so it's where you want to be. Now the final part of your installation, now this should only take, this whole installation take 5 to 7 minutes. If you're using a manual pump, it could be 7 to 10. If you're using an electric pump, 5 minutes, 5 to 7. But anyway, on the back of the seat, you'll see a strap here with a buckle. Down here is a D-ring right here. Now, for me to keep all these tucked away really nice, what I do is I feed that through the D-ring, and you see how I just tucked it, and it has dual reasons that I'm doing this. Now, your seat won't go forward, and it's pretty well sets this to a very vertical position. And then to adjust your seat bottom, you just kind of smack it with your hand a little bit just before you get in the craft. Okay? It's really, really that simple. So, okay guys, there is your AdvancedFrame AE 1044 DSXL, totally ready to hit the water. Everything is done. All the inflations are done. All the button uppers are done. This and your floor is aligned, so you're really ready to hit the water. Okay, guys, we are getting ready to do the tear down and deflation process. Once you've come off the water, you always want to wipe the boat down. So always take a towel with you and wipe the hull down. And then these particular craft have the nylon top, so it takes drying time. So make sure that you, when you get it home, now I do not a full inflate, but almost a full inflate to where it can dry real well. But I wipe out the inside when I come off the water, and I wipe off the bottom. Then take it, tear it down, just undo that strap you did. Open that up. Here. And there. Now if you use the lumbar seat, this is where you would deflate the valve right here and put it in the full open position. And again, that's a twist lock and that's a manual blow. So anyway, get that out. Next step you want to do is to pull out your footrest. All you do is find your clips. Okay, get your footrest taken out. Now, next thing is all your twist locks, because if you do it in this order, you won't forget them. Your combing valve locks, your deck lift twist locks, okay, lower main chamber, undo the cap, like we talked about before for the releasing the air. I'm going to do the same thing at the upper cap. Now do the same thing for the floor and let it deflate just like that. Now pull out your inserts while the air is expanding. And now, this is up to you. You can go ahead and use the dual action pump. Put it in deflate mode and deflate it. I don't do that anymore. What I do is leave it like this, all valves open. I'm going to fold it over right here like this and push out the air. Right at the end of the fin, fold it over, hold it in place like that. Now go forward, right at the end of the landing plate, fold that over like that. Now you want to push out any excess air. Now what I do in my case, I kind of put my foot in the middle here. I'll take this end, lift it, carry it over, And there's all the air is expelled out of this thing, and we are ready to bag inflate. At the zippered end, I insert the 2 folded ends into the bag. So I lift up the lower one, kind of lift it like this, make sure we're all clear, and get it up about 1/3, maybe 1/2. Now go down to the other end, insert that. You can see we're almost bagged up. Now, grab both sides of the bag, lift it up like this, grab the edge of the bag, make sure all the zippers are clear, lift. Take your inserts where the fold of the boat is and insert them in there. Okay, grab your footrest and your seat. Real simple process here. Take your seat, the outside, insert it. Now I'm going to show you a trick I do to zip this thing. Here's your footrest. I always put that just on top. Now what I do, guys, is I lay it on its side. And just like that, we're done. Well, hey guys, we are going to wrap up the Advanced Frame Bare Bone Basics video here. Provided was a complete detailed breakdown of all the different adapters, the pumps, stuff like that. Now, I'll talk briefly about electric pump right now. If you want an electric pump, I use mine because pumping the Elite or the Tandem or something like that is kind of, I'm old, okay? So I went ahead and got, the first time was a Surveyor electric pump. It's a 12-volt system, and you plug it into your cigarette lighter and stuff like that. That works great, great, great for advanced frame kayaks. I did a review on that. I'll put a link in the description. And now, because I have the Airvolution, I use the Shark 2 sup pump, which allows me to go real high pressure. And anybody that knows about the Airvolution knows that it's a very high pressure craft. So I'll put links for both of those videos in there. So if you want to explore the idea of getting an electric pump, you can. These are the two I would recommend. Now understand that all digital gauges are off. They're not true. So what you're going to have to do is find out for that specific pump when it comes in. You want to get your boat out on the patio or whatever, inflate it, use your dual action pump with gauge pump to check the pressures to see how close it is to the LCD screen versus the air gauge on the dual action pump. Now, you will not alleviate the need for the dual action pump because of the combing valves and the deck lifts and stuff like that. So you always want to check your air pressure anyway, and that's the process I'll use. I'll take my electric pump, I'll fill it to where it's almost to spec, okay? Then I will take the dual action pump, put it on, and then just a few pumps and it brings it up to 2 pounds or whatever the case may be. And then I go ahead and do the deck lifts and the combing valves and stuff like that using the dual action pump. But it just saves you a lot of time when you're inflating the main bladders. I mean, and the larger the boat, like the Tandem, man, you're going to need 2 people to run that pump. So if you get an electric pump, it will help you. But like I said, I'll put the links in the description for those 2 models. And you want to explore that, go ahead. So anyway, we talked about the pump, how it works, and the specifications. We talked about expansion and contraction, which is critical. A lot of people say, hey Dale, I filled it to spec, but my bladder blew out right at the seam. And that's because you filled it to spec before you went on the water, or you filled it to spec maybe the night before you're at a campsite, the sun has come up, as it got hot and it expanded. So when you got in the craft, got into more heat, you overexpanded the bladder. So you need to understand when you're in extreme heat, that thing's going to expand. So drop a 1/4 pound or a 1/2 pound on the spec, and you will not have no problems at all. Now, those of you who follow my channel know I live in Florida, and man, it gets ungodly hot, like it is hot right now. I mean, it is almost 80, well, in fact, it's 80 degrees right now, and it's still early morning. So it's hot. Summer's coming quick. So I have to take that in consideration every time I go out. And I look at that, okay, what time I'm going out. If it's early in the morning, it's still cool, the water's cool, two pounds will work. But if the water's warm, like in the Gulf, and it's hotter than bejesus outside, then I'm going to drop my main chamber specification to 1.5 or 1.75. So just keep that in mind. Then we talked about the valves that the AdvancedFrame line has. That's a military spring valve, the high pressure drop stitch valve, and the twist lock valves. Now, I showed you how to pop them up and put them down. And the same thing, the tricks with the twist lock valve. Keep the adapter on, guys. When you want to take, you filled it. If you're trying to close that thing, after you do, that's going to be open. So leave the adapter on. Hold the white section of it with your thumb. With the adapter on, twist it like this till you see it close. Then, what I do is I twist and pull like this. And that way I don't lose air. Now, it doesn't happen every time, but I'd say 90% of the time that works. Once in a while, I'll do it wrong and it'll escape a little air and I have to add some more and stuff like that. But that's on all twist lock valves. That's the trick to get that done. On the main chamber, there's 2 valves, and this is critical on everything but the Sport in the AdvancedFrame line. You only want to partial fill the outside main chamber to where the boat takes shape. I use like a 1 pound limiter, but it just depends. I just look at it, if the boat's taking shape sooner, then so be it. And don't expect your gauge on your PSI gauge on your pump to start registering right away, because there's not enough volume in the craft in the main chamber at that time to have that thing start registering. Now, I'm going to tell you, once you get over to the inside main chamber valve, the boat's taking shape, and you screw that one on and you start pumping, now you're going to see that gauge start working because there's enough pressure to make it register on the gauge. So your gauge isn't broken, just give it time to work. It's just not enough volume in there to trip off the PSI gauge. Okay? On the drop stitch floor or high pressure system, remember that adapter is split, and that's because it goes over a split down in the bottom of the valve, which you saddle and then twist it, and that locks it into place. I'll also put a link in the description on that trick on how to remove the high pressure adapter without losing a lot of air. Now, I've had a lot of people that go to take that off and the adapter stays in the boat and the hose adapter from the pump comes off and all the air comes out. So I did a video on that and I show you the trick, and it's a little triangle down at the bottom of the adapter. And you just put your finger on it and push in the direction you have to release it. So in this case, it'd be like this. So you just push against that triangle, pop and pull, and you'll hear a psh, and that's all you should get, is that little bit of air. And that's the trick on that one. And then the last trick I showed you is floor alignment. Now, floor alignment is critical. I hear a lot of complaints. People on the water, hey Dale, my boat's not tracking right, it's going to the left or it's going to the right. You didn't check the alignment on the floor. As you use your craft, the outer hull and stuff is going to stretch because you're putting inflation of that drop stitch floor in there, so it's going to change its dynamics a little bit. So I showed you the trick. At first, get it at home, put it up on the stands, totally inflated, 100%, just like you were going in the water, except no seat. Flip it upside down, put it on stands, and align the nose of the floor to the landing plate and align the aft point to the fin. Once that's aligned, you know you're 100% aligned. Now take a wide mark slot and put 4 marks right on the crown, right where it starts the crown. You want it right there. Put 4 marks. And every time you go out, before you hit the water, just lift the boat up like this, look down and see if your marks are aligned. If they're aligned, you're good to go. If not, turn the boat over before you put the seat in and smack it with your hand in the direction it is to get that alignment mark to be the same. And then you won't have any problem at all. Go out, put the seat in, go out and have a great time. So that's a lot of things we covered today. But that should take care of bare bone basics to get you on the water, understanding of the pump and stuff like that. With all the sales that Advanced Elements is experiencing right now, which is awesome, there's a whole lot of brand new kayakers out there that really don't know how to do this stuff. And there is a slight learning curve. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a learning curve, and then when I started changing boats from the straight edge to the elite, to the sport, to the tandem, and in Evolution, they're all different. They all have their own little nuances. However, on the AdvancedFrame line, all the valves and setup is identically the same, with the exception of no dual inside-outside main chamber on the Sport. Just has an outside chamber valve. And there's no combing on the Sport. But that's it. Other than that, all the inflation processes, twist locks and all that stuff are identical. So it doesn't matter which craft you're in. Once you know how they operate of all those valves and stuff like that, you're good to go. Now, folding process is real simple, but make sure your craft is dry. It's critical that your craft is dry. You do not want to store your boats when it's wet. Mold, mildew, stuff like that. So there is a drying time required for all AdvancedFrame models. Not the Evolution, just wipe it down real well and you can bag it on site. But for the ones that have a nylon decking or outer skin, drying time is required. Now you can treat it with 303 Fabric Guard. I'll put a link in the description because mine's treated that way. I treat it first the beginning of the season, and then when it ends, now my season starts in October and ends in June. It is still holding up well right now, and that particular craft, the one I did the review on today, has been in a lot of my Paddling Places reviews this past season, and that Fabric Guard is holding up extremely well. But it will reduce your drying time significantly. For those of you that are brand new to the AdvancedFrame, Advanced Elements kayak line, I hope this gives you the information you need to feel confident on getting your craft in the water. So hey, we'll see you on the next one.